All right, you guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. You already know what to do. Share the video, etc., etc. So as you all know, I'm a healthcare worker, and I also used to do security in the hospitals, right? So this very well hits home as what I'm about to break to you. This happened back in February, by the way, but a beloved nurse was attacked by a patient during an MRI procedure, and all bones in her face have been broken, and she is the mother of a doctor, and the family's very involved, and it seems more ethnical related, but let's tune in and see what happened, shall we?
I'm outraged that the fact that this happened. This is something that could have been preventable. You know, it was easily preventable if people had taken the right precautions from the beginning.
The victims' relatives and their attorneys say 67-year-old Leelama Lal, a registered nurse, is in critical but stable condition at St. Mary's with a brain bleed after every bone was broken in her face.
1 second I'm sad, the other second I'm angry, and then it's just, why did this happen to her?
PBSO says Lal was severely beaten at Palms West Hospital in a third-floor room by a Baker Act patient. An attorney for the victim's family would like to know what security measures were in place inside the hospital to deal with Baker Act patients.
To be honest with you, most hospitals have shitty security service. And mind you, most hospital security is observe and report only because they don't want to be responsible for patients getting beat up and shit. So when I was doing it, the company I was working for was strictly observe and report unless it's self-defense. But to me, it doesn't matter because you're going to get fired anyway. But the security we have now, they have authority to put hands and feet on you now. Thank God. That helps. But anyway.
33-year-old Stephen Scantlebury of Wellington was arrested following the attack and is charged with attempted second-degree murder. This charge has been enhanced to a hate crime. The family's attorney says the reason for that is that during the attack, Scantlebury made ethnic slurs to Lal, including derogatory comments about people from India.
So, just imagine how he feels about black people if he doesn't like Indians.
The family's attorney is asking if Scantlebury should have been brought to Palms West in the first place when there are other hospitals designated specifically for Baker Act patients.
They don't train their employees how to de-escalate violent situations like this.
The victim's relatives say Lal will need surgery to repair her facial injuries, and she may even be permanently blind due to the attack.
And this is going to forever, change the rest of her future. And, she's 67. She has, with her health, a good at least 20 plus years left, and she shouldn't have to spend them the way she's going to have to spend them.
Now, the courtroom was packed today as experts, witnesses, and even Scantlebury's wife, Megan, took the stand. She defended him, saying he has never been violent in their 12 years of marriage.
Bullshit. So all of a sudden he gets violent when he's in the hospital? Fuck out of here, lying bitch.
But prosecutors painted a very different picture, arguing that Scantlebury is both a danger to the community and a flight risk due to his ties to Canada, urging the judge to keep him in custody. Now, after the ruling, we spoke with the victim's daughter, and she says her family's still living in fear.
As far as Lal's condition, this is the most updated picture we have of her. She's regaining sight in her left eye, but her right eye is not looking as promising. There's also signs of neurological issues.
I didn't know what to do, so I had to call the police.
Newly released body camera video shows Palm Beach County deputies responding to a call on the morning of February 7th.
I mean, he looked like an asshole. Look at him. Eyes all close together like a cartoon character and shit. Whoop his ass.
Outside this Dunkin' in Wellington, Stephen Scantlebury, a husband and cheer dad, was acting paranoid and confused. A Dunkin' worker called 911.
He was sweating, he was already a little out of it, and he said, I need help, call 911, call 911. So immediately my mother called 911.
Scantlebury seemed calm while talking to deputies, but his mother, who deputies called to the scene, knew something was off.
She's saying the wife thinks he should be Baker Act, but she thinks he's having some kind of mental health problem.
Yeah,
right.
Something's not right with his train of thought.
But deputies said their hands were tied.
We can't force him to go anywhere. He's clearly coherent, and we just can't take everybody to the hospital because we think they need to get help. We have to know they need help.
Deputies arranged for a facility to call him the next morning, then left. Scantlebury reportedly walked about 1.5 miles to Palms West Hospital, where he was admitted with chest pains.
And that's when everything happened.
He began acting erratically, allegedly jumping off a CAT scan machine and running down the hall. Doctors eventually Baker-acted him, but instead of being taken to a secure psychiatric facility, he was left in a regular hospital room without security.
Medical error. It's the hospital's fault.
That's where police say he savagely beat 67-year-old nurse Leelama Lal, shattering nearly every bone in her face.
Out of all the medical staff that was there, why did he choose her to do that to? Very cowardly act. You beat up an elderly woman, somebody half your age. You should have been bowing down. Respect your elders.
They failed the nurse number one, and they failed him. They failed his family. He's a good father.
Something wrong with her too. Lock them both up for lying. This bitch is lying. I don't believe nothing she says.
Now, one of the biggest questions now is, would this all have happened if Scantlebury was just brought to a mental health facility in the first place?
More like, if he had a male nurse, would he have tried to brutally attack him? Probably not. Because a bulk male nurse would have slammed him up against the wall and whooped his ass. That's what would happen.
There is a problem with that. The guidelines for involuntary commitment under the Baker Act aren't exactly clear-cut. The person has to be a danger to themselves or others, but what that looks like in every case scenario is not clear.
No deficiencies. That was the finding of an inspection carried out by the Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration on HCA Florida Palms West Hospital following a brutal attack on nurse Leelama Lal. The report states the facility was in compliance with state safety regulations, meaning Palms West had the required policies and procedures in place to ensure safety and quality care.
Yeah, but they lack the training. Idiots.
Despite Stephen Scantlebury violently beating Leela, breaking essentially every bone in her face. Scantlebury was admitted to the hospital on February 18th for physical complaints. But while he was receiving care, he became a psychiatric patient as well. He was identified as a Baker Act case. However, Palms West is not one of Palm Beach County's Baker Act facilities.
They follow a lot of quantitative data. This is the worksheet that they have.
Dr. Sandra Rizaldi is a psychiatric nurse practitioner and founder of Nurses Against Violence. I asked her for her take on the report.
Historically, nurses and healthcare workers do not report violent attacks, or they don't report every detail or even any incidences that happen on the floors.
Now the question is there room for improvement to enhance security at Palms West?
Not just there. Like I said, in general, I worked at more than one hospital, and a lot of them, they're just not trained to deal with psych patients like that. But sometimes they have to bring these psych patients to the hospital because nobody else will accept them. There was a young kid that we had a few times. They'll bring him in from his group home because he gets violent at his group home, so they bring him to us. And sometimes he goes wild and out sometimes, even on his parents. So I know all about this. It's just wild to me what policies the hospitals break just to accept the patient. Like, I'm like, you guys are not trained for this. This is ICU, not a psych ward.
Or other HCA facilities. The hospital tells us they've already taken some steps. Just this week, they added a workspace for PBSO deputies in the emergency room. But healthcare professionals say more needs to be done.
There's no actual preventing programs to be able to be proactive to prevent violent attacks. This would include security, proper training. The training that they have is from a third-party entity.
Rizaldi says change starts with speaking up. She's encouraging workers to reach out to Congress about Senate Bill 1176. It would require the Department of Labor to address violence in the workplace regarding health care and social services.
I mean, yeah, they have social workers on site, and, you know, care planners, but they're not there to deal with the psychological reasons. It takes a certain person or a family member for the patient to act right sometimes. You have patients that come into the hospitals purposely wanting to hurt nurses and doctors. Now, when I was security in the emergency room, a lot of times I would have to watch 5150 patients put on the hold by the doctor that authorizes the 5150 hold. So whatever reason, while they're there, they weren't always violent. That's the thing. There was only a few of them that were violent. The other ones, they're just in their own world. They're quiet, cooperative. It just all depends on what's going on with the patient. They might act out later on. There's triggers that'll set them off. So I've seen it all just about. I've seen nurses get attacked by patients, been in those situations where staff is getting kicked, hurt, patients running down the hall, getting head-butted, all that. All that. They're not good situations to be in. Of course not. And see, this is where medical staff fears, like, we're not here for this. We're here to treat patients, not fight them. And that's the last thing they should have to do. It's stressful enough trying to save their life. But then you have assholes that come in that purposely want to hurt people for just because they get a high off of it. But I'm like, wow.
It's made little progress since being referred to a committee 2 years ago.
She's scared to be alone, so a lot of anxiety.
Dr. Cindy Joseph is now at a rehab hospital with her mother, Leelama Lal, a registered nurse who was attacked last month by a patient at Palms West. Every bone in her face was broken. Leelama Lal, who was moved this week from St. Mary's in West Palm Beach to a rehab hospital in Jacksonville, is going through 3 hours of physical therapy and speech therapy 7 days a week. Does she have any memory of the attack that occurred at Palms West?
She doesn't have any memory of the attack. She remembers the day prior. She does remember what she did. She doesn't remember that morning of ever going to the hospital.
Joseph says her mother has regained sight in her left eye, but it's not clear if she'll regain sight in her right eye, which is swollen shut from facial reconstruction surgery.
She's really scared about her eyesight. When she looks in the mirror after going to the bathroom, she gets really tearful and she cries. And I'm very thankful that she at least has one eye, because at least she can see her kids, grow up. Her grandkids get older.
She says Leela can walk with assistance, but is not able to talk clearly because her jaw is tied shut because doctors want to limit the movement of her jaw following the surgery.
Psychologically, she's questioning, why did this happen to her? Like, what she did to deserve this? Why did it have to be her? She's questioning that. She's really sad about her eyesight. She doesn't know what her future looks like.
Wednesday's court hearing focused on one thing: competency. Defense attorney Scott Simmons told me a mental health evaluation has already been done on 33-year-old Stephen Scantlebury, and that a second opinion is coming.
Today was a court date based off competency, so in order for a defendant to be deemed fit for trial, they have to be competent. If you're not competent, you can't sit forward for trial. So today we asked for a second doctor to be appointed to evaluate him for competency.
Scantlebury is facing attempted second-degree murder charges with a hate crime enhancement, accused of beating Palms West nurse Leelama Lal and nearly breaking every bone in her face. With that first doctor finding Scantlebury competent, the case is now on track for trial. The defense has filed a notice to use an insanity defense, but that would be argued in front of a jury during trial, not beforehand.
Competency has to play out. If he's found competent, we will proceed with our defense. If he's found incompetent, we will continue going through the mental health court.
Leelama Lal is now finally returning home this weekend. The 67-year-old nurse has been through a lot. She spent months in recovering after a brutal attack inside HCA Florida Palms West Hospital back in February. The suspect in this case, 33-year-old Stephen Scantlebury, was in the hospital under a Baker Act at the time when he attacked Lal, according to officials. He's now facing attempted second-degree murder charges with a hate crime enhancement and remains in custody at the Palm Beach County Jail. He's awaiting a second mental health evaluation.
Fuck all that. Lock his ass up. And the same thing is going to happen to him in the big house. This is Kyle DeVale. See you in the next video. Happy Sunday. Peace.